Hi, welcome back to the Kaylie Carroll Show. Today we're going to talk about what it's like in a mediumship reading, psychic reading as a medium, and different things that we see, hear, feel, go through.
Yeah, because we've talked about, I feel like we've explained to you guys how to connect with your own loved ones, the language of spirit, the signs and the symbols, but I feel like we never really talked about what goes on behind the scenes when
A lot of it
we're...
is similar too, like we were saying, but
Yeah,
still.
but it goes a lot. We just want to go deeper into it to explain how mediumship actually works when you're receiving a reading from a medium and what's going on in the medium's head, what's going on around them, and stuff like that. I think one of the first things we can talk about and explain, which is even beneficial for you guys, because like I said, you can take this home with you and learn even deeper how to connect with your loved ones on the other side, but we can just start with the clairs. Your clairs are essentially your five senses, except they're like spiritual senses. So it's how the spirit world connects to us. So there's, let's see if we can remember them this time. Clear audience is hearing. Mm-hmm. So do you want to explain what that is?
Which typically, some people hear an outside voice. It's not really common, but it's usually like a sentence or a word that you hear and in your mind. So it could be your own voice, but it's like, it's out of nowhere.
And I feel like I've only happened, because that's a really rare one, didn't you say, too?
Just when you hear someone else's voice, like an outside voice.
That's what I was going to say, because I feel like that has only happened to me like maybe once.
Yeah, I've had it a couple times in meditation, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
but it's not common.
But like she's saying, it doesn't always have to be someone's totally different voice. It's also your inner voice. Like, what is your inner voice? What's popping in your head? And as mediums, when we're learning to develop and train, we learn that is just as important as if we were hearing another voice, and we have to notice, why is this popping in my head for this reason or whatever.
And for us, because we do it, we work with our own spirit team, and for us, it's like when we go into a session, press the timer. When we're ready to work, spirit knows. Like, we've been working with them for so long that then we know it's not our thought. Like, this is for them.
And that's really how it always turns out. Like, because every single thing that pops in my head or anything I hear or whatever always ends up resonating with the client in front of me. But if I were to try that outside of a session, or if I wasn't trying to connect, it's easy to... But I feel like I've learned now the difference between, like, my regular voice and, like, my connection to spirit, or like my intuition, because I feel like that's a lot of questions that people ask, is like, how do you know what your intuition is? And without getting too off topic, I feel like, just like you were saying, if you set a time and a place to connect, and that is your intention, then whatever you feel, hear, see, whatever in that moment is your connection. It is your intuition to spirit and all of that. And it's just trusting it.
I was just going to add, like, and it happens in meditation. And, people have a different idea what meditation is. There's several ways to meditate, but essentially it's getting quiet and knowing your own energy, understanding your own energy. So after time, you build that space with your own energy field, and that's how you could hear your own, like, if you're not a medium in a session.
So clear audience, clairvoyance, I think, is the most popular one. That's your third eye, you're all seeing. So that just comes through with pictures when we're reading. If we're not hearing, we'll sometimes see things, and they're just quick flashes.
Very quick. Very quick. A lot of people think, like, oh my God, do you see them? And some people do have that ability, I suppose, where they... I don't know. I
mean, some people have stronger and clairvoyance, or that's their main one or their only one of the clairs that they connect with. You'll notice with mediums, like, I feel like every medium has one or two main clairs that they connect to the spirit world with. But we try to learn or practice in all of them because it's just more ways and more opportunity for the spirit world to connect with us.
And as far as clairvoyance, like she said, it was just a picture in your mind, and usually it flashes so quick. But we have built the sensitivity to catch that image when it flashes. So then we're like, okay, we just saw a dog, or we just saw a man's belly, and we were talking about like spirit will highlight certain parts of the belly, or not the belly, certain parts of the body to like, maybe if I see a protruding belly or something, he was a heavy drinker or diabetes or something like that. Hair, when they play that with their hair, it often is they either like loved their hair in a certain way. They have thinning hair.
I was gonna share that because that came in a reading earlier in the week, which is one that if I get this message, I usually see it, and it's always with the hair. I'll see their hair in curlers. Like if I knew that they like to get done up, or they used to do their hair in curlers all the time or whatever, like I'll actually see that. And again, it's super quick and flash, but those are one of the times or messages that I'll see it.
Clear
I think too. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I think too because I know I've seen that in my real life, like with my mom being a hairstylist, my sister being a hairstylist. Like I grew up in a salon, so I saw that all the time. So I feel like that's a significant image that like my mind knows, and so that's why when it comes through as an image because. Like we said, spirit works through our reference. So we all have a memory bank, a symbol bank with the spirit world, like we've told you guys before.
And even people who are not working mediums have a reference,
Yeah.
So that's why it's like once you sit with your own energy, that's why it's powerful. You don't have to go be a medium or do it for other people, but it's working with, spirit.
Yeah. And just so all of you guys probably have yours, like our grandma is a butterfly or a hummingbird. So as for a medium though, I feel like we just kind of take it to the next level. We have it for every little instance and that's the whole point because it is a different language that we're trying to learn to understand. And so that's how they just come through with us. So clear audience, clairvoyance, what did you say? Clear sentience. Clear sentience is feeling. Which is, I feel like how I get a good amount. I mean, I think I learned this too, like clear sentience goes with almost every other clair because once you see a picture, then clear sentience is feeling, you have to then feel into it. Like I can see the hair curlers, but if I can't, like the girl with their hair in the curlers, but if I can't feel into it deeper, I'm not going to know what it means. So I feel like clear sentience kind of goes hand in hand. Which is a good thing for you guys to do too if you're in meditation or you're receiving your own signs. Like once you get something, you don't always just have to take it for what it is. Feel deeper into it. What is the feeling you're feeling behind it? What is it trying to tell you? That's what clear sentience is.
And then like when we're in a session, we've talked about how we'll feel like knee pain or our stomach, like a punch in the stomach or head pain. And once we share that, then it goes away. So it doesn't stay or anything like that.
Yeah, because people have asked us before too, why, like, oh my gosh, that's so horrible that you have to go through that. But just like the images and everything else, it's just super quick flashes of it to get our attention to that area.
It's like we're the tool that spirit uses. When we walk in for a session, we say we allow you to use us in the best way possible to get the messages through. And a reading last week, I felt my left side, so I already knew that. I don't know if I heard, felt, and that's another thing. Once you do it for so long, we don't always pinpoint which clair happened. It's so fast that, so all of a sudden I went to my left side and I started playing with my bracelet and I'm still giving a reading, the woman's father. And then all of a sudden it just came out of my mouth, who's a lefty? And she said, my father was. And I said, is there a bracelet or a watch? And she said, yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, we're tuning into what's going on. Like what, even when, every second during the reading, just paying attention to all the little details.
Yeah, and it's not just like what's going on outside of us. It's too like where are we drawn to? Like she was drawn to her left hand, or she just all of a sudden noticed she was playing, because that happened to me. Half the time I'll notice during a reading, I've been playing with my ring for a reading, and I'm like, oh my God, they're bringing my awareness to my ring, and then usually there's a significance in a ring. So it's like, what's going on? Mediumship, when we're connecting with that example, like, we're just trying our best to stay in the present moment and notice, where is my awareness going? And every single moment my awareness goes somewhere else, it's another message. So I've had it, and I'm not sure what Claire this would be, but I've had it where I like look over and I'll see something on the wall. The other day I saw like the C, it was like the letter C and the letter S in a poster, but it was the C, and then I wrote it down because their loved one was trying to get me to reference a C name, whether it was Christine, Crystal, but there was a C name, I can't remember what it was. But so it's like, what's happening in the present moment? Where is my awareness being drawn to? And then trusting that that's exactly where Spirit wants you to go. That's exactly where they're leading you.
I had a client the other day, and her name had it actually only had one L and one E, and I accidentally put two L's and two E's, which I never do. So as I was doing it, I just scribbled out, the E, the extra E, and she said, oh, it's only one L too. So then I scribbled out the L and I said twins. And just because it was twin numbers, like two L's, two E's. So I said, oh, twins. So then we take a couple breaths, we start the reading, and the first person, or the main person she wanted to speak to, came through, and she had twins. So and because that came back again, or through again, and she said, oh yes, she had twins. And I was like, oh my God, well, she was here like when we first started, and it was cool because, again, going back and connecting all the dots, like that's who she wanted to talk to. So she was there right before, she walked in with her, and it was just, it took a few minutes or a little bit of time to bring that forward.
Yeah.
But it's like noticing or catching that.
That's what I was going to say, is realizing everything happened when you're in a mediumship reading, everything happens for a reason, exactly how it needs to. So I've had it come through where, like, if I'm connecting to either like a baby or like a miscarriage in spirit, or I can say to like an animal or a dog, I'll catch myself and I'll be talking and I'll say he, or like I'll describe them as he with whatever I'm saying, but I won't even know if it's a girl or a boy. But then I'll be like, wait, was it a boy, or was your dog a boy? Or, and they'll be like, yeah, he was. So but it's like I said he because I was just feeling that, and that's how they were coming through, but it slipped out even though I didn't even ask or know. It just kind of flowed that way. So it's stuff like that. Like everything really does happen
Examples
for a reason.
I was just brought back to, as you were saying that, when I used to work in a salon and I was doing someone's eyebrows, and they were always interested because I was developing over the past 14 years.
Yeah.
And I would share all these stories. So I was giving an example. I'm like, so as an example, I have a grandmother, and she's handed me roses and blah, blah, blah. And my client was like, oh my God, my grandma's name is Rose. And so like that would just in an example, but it had happened so often, which again, back then told me that we're always, I heard this before, like, we're walking messages already, unconsciously or consciously, we're walking messages. So again, just tuning into the words of what you're saying, what you're feeling, or, I had no idea it was her grandma coming through, but so it's cool.
Okay, clear audience. Let's see if we can get through these. Clairvoyance, clairsentience. clear cognizance is knowing. So that's when a message comes through and you didn't hear it, you didn't see it. It was more just like a knowing, and I don't really know how else to explain that. Like it just comes through and you just know that this is what you're supposed to say. It's similar to like intuition. I
think
feel
like channeling too. It's similar
Yeah.
because you're
it just
saying
comes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clear cognizance.
Augustine, which is smelling.
Yeah, that's always a fun one too.
A lot
'cause
of people
doesn't
have
always
that.
happen.
A lot of clients. It's a very, that one's not common either. I
Yeah.
don't believe, but I know I smell roses when I'm in. Me and my friend exchange Reiki weekly, and not every session, but it's been a handful of times. I'll get a whiff of roses, which is Mother Mary for me in the session. But it's crazy because she doesn't smell it, and so it's really cool.
That's the thing I feel like is when you do get the smell, it's not always like your client doesn't always like. I've never had it where when
Yeah,
I say,
with
"Oh,
it.
I'm smelling cigarette smoke," like my client isn't like, "Me too." It's just super quick and like they don't smell it, but that's also how we know it's like this sensitivity because they're all super super subtle signs and feelings and instances, and so that quick smell just again is a sign or a message like to get us there. It's not crystal clear, it's not strong, but that's how the spirit world works because them even doing what they do, whether it's flashing a picture or getting me to play with my ring, I feel like that takes a lot of energy for them. I mean, I guess I don't really know, I can ask them, but
And what I've been taught, I play with, what I've been taught and experience, and just I'm open to all of it. But what I've been taught is like, if I'm clairvoyant or I learn through pictures and visuals. So when I'm on the other side, I might come through clairvoyantly to someone. So like whoever we're connecting to, whether, they're strong in one area or another, like I know we often have people come in who, they really want to talk to their father, say, and their father comes in, but he's not really talkative.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're like, come on, give me something. And it's like we're pulling and we get things, but he wasn't. I'm like, was he a very quiet man? And she's like, oh yes, like he man a few words, whatever. I'm like, well, he still is. So, some things like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Play into it, but
yeah. So. I definitely feel like we're forgetting a couple because I know there's like 5 main ones, but I know there's like 2.
What did we say? Voyance, audience,
sentience, cognizance, augustance. Yeah, I know we're missing 1 or 2 guys, so don't quote us on this. Maybe look them up yourself. I definitely feel like we are.
Okay.
But anyways, we really just wanted to share what it's like behind the scenes for a medium. And I really just emphasize like everything happens for a reason. And I believe this in my day-to-day life. But when I'm in a reading, like that's where I believe it the most. And that's where my awareness is going. And it's like every single thing, the second we sit down, is coming through for a reason, is happening for a reason. We just have to figure out how or why it connects.
And I was just going to say, and what do you think the role of the client is, or what does that affect the medium at all? Or I think energy is energy, so of course it does. We always talk about how I was the one who would take off my ring, my wedding ring, and go in there with, very closed or not telling a word.
Trick them, to trick the medium.
Not really trick them, but to see if they were real. But now on the other side of it, energetically, I feel like, I was blocking a lot of things because I went in there with an agenda, an expectation. And if she mentions I'm married, then she's the real deal. And, had my ring off. I was young when I was married. So yeah.
But it is too, like, so how can you guys prepare for when you're going to a mediumship reading? Really, I would say the only thing, like Carol is kind of leading to, is just being open to what comes through, what can come through, who can come through, because there's so many like instances. This just happened last weekend where things can come through or memories can come through that might not have even ever been significant, or it's something that you never thought about until I was saying it in that moment. But when it does, it brings up an emotion, or there's something there that your loved one or your soul was trying to get you to look at so you can let it go, which happened over the weekend. A memory came through where my client was like, yeah, I had no memory. Like, I never even thought about that until you said it, but I actually do remember it now. Stuff like that, but it's not what you're expecting. But if you go into it and you only want to hear this, and this, that itself comes with an energy of like restriction, resistance. There's not an openness to seeing what else can come through. There's not an openness to seeing or trusting that what does come through is what your soul needs to hear, in that way. So, but even too, like, I feel like it's like, how do you really, because I feel like I've even had clients that like come through and it feels, or they think they're open, or they say they're open, but then there's still some stuff there that blocks the energy. So how do we kind of explain that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too. And I was thinking about like, well, how can you suggest they be open? And I know that we always say, like, we have been asking too, if there's someone you really want to connect with, we'll put our intention out there as well. But, be open to the whole
Who else?
experience. And we say when you leave, you should analyze it. You should go through it. You should, because as we always say, things will continue to unfold even after your reading. So being open is, I think, just, focusing on opening your heart and being in this, reading, and just know that everything happens for a reason, and you're where you're supposed to be. And then, like I said, think about it after the reading. But any other suggestions of how they can go in there open?
Well, that's what I was going to say is, like, so that stuff, like, you can come in there and say, I'm so open, I'm so ready. But if there's still some, like, I feel like some of that resistance is their connection to themselves. Like, and that's why we always preach to slow down and to get in touch with yourself, because too, that can affect, I feel like, the energy of a reading. If you're, not willing to tune in to some parts of yourself or some emotions that are coming up for you, or you still have a lot that you're holding on to from your own life or your own experiences, I feel like it's all energy. Not to say that you have to come into a reading 100% healed and cleared and whatever, because a reading itself is very healing. It's just like a willingness to be open to look at your stuff, to feel your stuff, to work through your stuff with yourself or with certain loved ones who have crossed. Like, there has to be a willingness to be open to that, I feel like.
And for me,
like, the deeper stuff, not just I'm open to receiving mediumship and hear what they have to say. It's like a willingness to feel your stuff too.
For me, I feel like I'm so sensitive even to the person in front of me that I've learned to navigate through those energies, but not always. It still trips me up sometimes. I'm like, almost like, when you go to confession behind the thing, I'm like, can we have the screen? I'll do the reading behind the screen, because then I feel like I would be more. Sometimes I'm nervous from their energy because I feel that so deeply, where they're blocked or where they're judging me or where, expecting something from me, and I just want to give, but I've learned to, but I was going to say, I had this reading probably 2 years ago now, is when I broke my rib the next day. And it was one of the best readings I've ever done. It was crazy because every single thing connected, and she had her children with her. And to look at this woman, she was visibly mad, very mad, very closed. She might have even sat like this with a child on each side. And I'll never forget, because I don't remember a lot of things. But this one I wrote down. I don't know where it's at, but I wrote it down when she left. But anyway, so this name Robert came in, and she was like, mm-mm. And then her son looked over at her. He's like, Mom, like his name was Bob. And it was her husband. So their father. But long story short, so much detail, so much evidence. And she walked away crying, but she was not happy. And I felt like that whole session, and we've talked many times, like how healing, a mediumship reading can be. And that whole session, I always like to, when I get the evidence and stuff, and it's confirmed or validated, then I know that, what I'm saying is, connecting and right. But to look at her, you would never think that.
But that's why, as the medium, like, it's not our responsibility either how the person across from us takes
it's not,
the message.
but I clearly knew middle way through that she was in deep, deep grief. And, it reminds me of my mom when, I would get tons of signs right after my brother passed away. And they didn't mean anything to my mom. She's like, it wasn't my brother standing there.
Yeah.
So she was like, signs. And then people wonder, well, why did that person come for a reading then if she was just going to be like that? And I'm like, you don't know.
Yeah.
So just to finish that story, the next day, me as a medium, I held it a little bit because I used to want to quit all the time because it just got so hard. And again, it's from the client, not from spirit world for me. And this is behind the scenes of a medium. So I used to want to quit, threaten to quit all the time. And so I was on the verge of that feeling, but it was more so I was carrying so much heavy grief for her because I knew it wasn't her that was mean to me or that looked pissed off at me. It was her pain. It turned out he just passed away, her husband, a month prior, and all of this stuff. So I ended up falling and breaking my rib that morning and that next morning. And I knew I was trying to release it by talking to my good medium friends and different friends that understood. And they're like, oh, Carol, it was blah, blah, blah. So she ended up calling.
I know. I think I was the one that took the phone call.
Yeah, she ended up calling and she said she just wanted to apologize because beyond a doubt I had her husband, but, she just...
There was a lot there.
Yeah, there was a lot there. So... So, but I'm just saying as a medium, that could affect the reading sometimes. I don't know how I went through that whole reading like that because I learned, like I said, from years of doing it to work through it. But when she left, I cried. Like I had to release. So that was a very powerful one. But like I said, it was one of the best ones because it was so detailed. That's why I couldn't understand, but I knew it was all everything. And so, but that's why when you come in with your ring off and blocking, like I could feel all that. And I'm sure other mediums can. So that's why, just releasing expectation. Like you can always put the intention of, oh, I would love to connect to my mom if she's here,
or I would love to hear this, this or whatever. Yeah. And we've had a lot of times too where that stuff does come through.
Yeah,
like,
without even.
Just ask them. But the difference is some people come into it like I need to hear you say this, and that's the only thing I care about, and that's the only thing I want to hear. Or you just put it out there and say, if you're here, like just mention this, but then you let it go. There's a surrender to it as well, which allows the energy to flow, which will allow that thing more than likely that you're wanting to hear to come through.
That actually just happened in the reading a party we had last weekend. This woman, she was so nice and so happy, thank God, like for me. But as it was coming through, it was her first mediumship reading. She's like, there were 3 people, she told me at the end, there were 3 people and I wanted them, she told them, mention this, and I never heard someone say that before. And the one thing was mentioned, I'm trying to think about the other two. I forgot. Oh, the other thing that she wanted me to mention from a different person, something else came through that connected, but it wasn't exactly what she assigned to him. I think 2 out of 3 came through, if not 1 out of 3, but the other thing's still connected. So she's like, this was really cool, whatever. I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like, but yes, people do that. You can ask, you can put it out there, but like Kaylie said, then let go of it. That's the best way we could grab it is by
because from the start of this, like everything is energy, whether it's what's going on in the moment of in a reading, for the medium, what's going on in your energy during the reading, like it all depends, or it all affects how the energy's flowing, what comes through, how things come through. That's not to place any fear or anxiousness either, stepping into a reading. Like, just come in and just surrender, because that's what we do, and that's all you can do with the spirit world, because we can't control it. We just trust it, and I feel like that's kind of the bottom line, is everything that we learn to give a mediumship reading at the end of the day comes down to learning how to surrender and trust what's going on in this moment when we start that timer, and then trusting that spirit coming through for a message of some sort.
One more thing, James Van Praagh, I went to one of his big gallery events one time, and this is the first time I ever heard this. It was a long time ago, but he said, okay, everyone call in your loved ones, and whoever you want to, speak to or whatever, and do it one time. That's it. And he was and we're like, huh? He said, don't keep saying, come on, mom, come on, mom, come on, mom, come on, mom. He said, because it's creating all this energy and resistance to actually your mom coming through. So one time, and I was like, huh.
Well, I just shared that quote to a client. It's, you want it so bad, you fear you won't get it, and with that fear, you're unable to manifest it. So you saying, come on, mom, you have to come in, please come in, please come in, please come in. You want it, so you want her to come in so bad that fear that's underneath that want is causing that resistance to allow the energy to flow how it needs to, and allow them to come in like they want to come in, like you want to come in. But it's learning to let go of that resistance or that fear to allow everything to flow, exactly how it needs to, which I love that quote so much. And I feel like you can take it into so many instances.
I was just thinking, like, just talking about that, like, and energy in general, like, just going through life, like, if you're resisting something, forcing something, or if it's
there's
just
a fear
flowing
behind it, like you want it to.
But if you're heavy, if you feel heavy or weighed down or stuck or all those things,
or if you're putting so much like expectation and pressure under this want, like all of that creates that resistance to not coming into your life. That was like one of the biggest things, which is getting a little off topic, but like if you, whatever you want in life, like just find the resistance that you have to receiving that thing, and it'll show up once you get rid of that resistance.
So another question people ask is, do you ever not get anything in a reading? Oh. Do you ever not receive any information?
So I was going to say, well, it's not, I don't know if I've never not received anything, but I've received stuff that doesn't connect. And in that moment, if it's like a couple minutes of things not connecting or not going through, all we can do is honor spirit. Like, I'm not going to charge you if there's no connection, or I'm not going to like hold you to this. That's why we say just be open and come with no expectations, because we can't control it either. So if something, like, nothing's ever guaranteed with mediumship. So if we can't, our job is just to honor that. I feel like, whether it's not charging them or whatever.
And we've been told that, by our teachers a lot, like all mediums, like you're going to have a couple, some sessions, whatever. And when it happens, it's like the worst thing in the world. It has happened, but it doesn't happen often, very rare. But when it does, it actually just happened to me recently. And it was more of a psychic reading, which is what she wanted. I like mediumship readings better because I like them to give me the information. I like to see that evidence and that proof and all that. Psychic readings come with evidence and proof too, but it's just different. I'm more comfortable with like someone talking to me, I guess. I don't know. But but I had that happen, and by the end of the reading, like, she really didn't have a need to even connect to spirit world. And for me, it felt like it was pulling teeth, and I'm like, some things connected, some things were like, no, not that, but some things did, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So typically when we would give the money back, and I knew that right away, like with her loved ones, and I knew she wanted more of a psychic and all the stuff, but for me, I'm like still trying. I'm like, no, where are your people? But she didn't have, anyone she was really close to.
Yeah.
So the psychic part, like I said, connected, was good, all that. But where was I going with that? But
just that all we could do is honor spirit.
Yeah.
What comes through, and if nothing comes through, like, then it is what it is.
But always something comes
Yeah.
through.
But whether or not it connects or not, like, that's what
And I think
saying.
a challenge for us mediums, I know for me and you, I think, is because we have these sessions that are so powerful and so connected, and then it's like, another one will come in, and we want to give that to everybody. And we always have to check ourselves and, know that we're part of your journey. We are not your journey. And, yeah. So.
Well, I was going to say, it's so funny. I told her this on the way, I think, to one of our last parties or events. And I said, the good thing and the bad thing about mediumship is your last reading can never determine your next reading.
Yeah. And that is so true. And that's why we're able to learn, because we're learning all the time, and we want to be the best we can be, like anyone in their
Field,
job or so. And we've seen that happen where one reading we're like, what the heck, and the very next reading is like, you couldn't even make it up. Like, it's like, wait, what? So then you just start to be like, okay, spirit, what do you got? But it's because I can tell you, give you so much wisdom from my journey, and so much truth, or the right way, whatever, but you might not receive it because you're not even supposed to right now. You have to go this way and have that. So it's not about like
being right or wrong.
Yeah, it's more so we take in what we're able to take in. Like, if you have a cup and you can only fit that much water in it, it'll just overflow. You're not going to get more water in this cup, type of thing. So, so we just have to disconnect from the outcome. We have to do that too. Surrender, disconnect from the outcome, and trust that what we're saying is what is meant to be. So.
Yeah, so if you guys have any other questions about mediumship, what goes on behind the scenes, or anything you want us to dive deeper into, definitely let us know.
Yes.
But we'll see you next time.